Alright, hello everybody. We're doing some late night live streaming here. So, I'm gonna have to speak kind of quietly. So, I've been doing some more work trying to do some basic learning and try to figure out how I can, how do I put this, like what areas I need to build on and how I can better improve my ability to maybe predict where price may move. So I came up with I staticize, therefore I am within one standard deviation. So staticize, is that a real word or did I make that one up? Well, I originally made it up and then it turns out it's a real word. Staticize. This is from McGraw-Hill Dictionary, 2003. It's a computer science term to capture transient data in stable form, thus converting fleeting events into examinable information. And I'll be darned if that is not a perfect definition for what we're attempting to do. We're attempting to collect data from various places and make sense out of what would otherwise be complete chaos, being the day-to-day movements of pricing. Secondary definition on that is to extract an instruction from the main computer memory and store the various component parts of it in the appropriate registers. Preparatory to interpreting and executing it. And kind of that's not too far off from what we're doing as well. So staticize, there you go. It's a real word. I didn't just make it up. We're going to start getting into some basic statistics. Standard deviation is kind of a measure of how far something deviates from the average, the mean. And so there's your definition of that in case you're curious. So I'm looking at a particular stock, I won't say which one, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I am not a licensed advisor, so this is for entertainment purposes only. This is just you watching my journey, trying to educate myself from a very low level to still a very low level, but hopefully a little higher level than where I started. So I am looking at a particular stock, and it has been kind of hammered down, and if you were to look at it on its trend analysis, you would say it is kind of in the lower boundaries, hopefully at a low and at support and about to bounce up higher. So I was curious how I can interpret where the stock price is going to move and what tools I might be able to use to make that happen. And one thing I was curious about is maybe the potential that the options market has a substantial influence on where the actual price goes. I've heard this from other commentators online, and so I kind of put together a very simple chart based on the price action. What would you call it? The open options. So you have two graphs here. Here you have the open call options, and here you have the open put options. And then we'll all be darned if it didn't kind of line up into kind of your standard bell-shaped curve, huh? So it would appear that the open call and open put have kind of coagulated and congregated around the price of 52. And the current price, I believe, is 49.55 is where it closed at, and it went up a little bit in after hours. So here it is in the 1 week, and the chart has had some substantial fluctuations. Had an enormous gain and then a tremendous crash, a little blip, and that's where it's currently resting. And the open options are all resting around this 52 mostly. So I'm very curious, is its next move going to be to shoot to the 52 range? Today is the 26th and the options expire on the 28th. And I always like to look at charts and kind of see, are there patterns that kind of repeat themselves? Looking at this one, there was almost like a little lump here, a 1, a 2, and then a 3. Then a lesser 1, 2, and 3, I'm curious if we're going to have a 1, a 2, and then is this going to be the third one that's going to park itself next to it? And kind of like this did, it went bigger, smaller, smaller. And if we're going to end up with something that does a little hump up here to 52 or almost to 52, kind of skitter sideways, and then it's going to drop back off into kind of a general, if you see these interesting lines like here, it almost seems like it's trying to draw a new slope line like right here to create trends. So this one's very interesting. It's a symbol that has been very hammered down. It is down about, I would say 13, 14, maybe almost 15% off of its highs. So I mean, you can see here it was up above 58 and then came crashing down. So I've made a little bit of money each time off of these little blips that it's been having here, and I'm really curious tomorrow morning's open over the next 2 days. Is it gonna, probably even maybe tomorrow, is it gonna make another hop up to 52, or is it gonna continue on a slide down? So the after hours were fairly positive. You can see today it got fairly hammered. If you're looking at the 1 week, the price action was kind of interesting. It like made a drop. It came really to positive, a little past positive, and what I had done is bought in here and I dropped it here, and right after I dropped it, it made a huge drop, and I kind of bought in a little bit down in here, a little bit here at the bottom, and then kind of in around. So I have some purchases in around this area here, and I'm hoping tomorrow is going to be a really nice sharp open. This stock tends to have really nice sharp moves, either to the upside or to the downside, as you can see. So anyway, this was a pretty rough day for the stock. I actually ended up being able to make money off of it because of the way I'd positioned here, dropped it there, and then it made a huge drop afterward. So we will see what happens tomorrow. I might end up having to close out if it continues and makes an unpredicted drop here, but these levels in here are right at a support level, so I'm hoping that we're not going to have problems. Oops. So anyway, this is the graph I created based on the options action, and it was really, really very interesting to see how the options action, how both the puts and the calls kind of both exactly lined up around this magical 52. And so we're going to hope that 52 is where it's going to make a pop to. I think I would probably drop out of it even if it made a dollar move tomorrow. I'd probably drop out with a $1.50 move because it is incredibly volatile, as you can see. You can see all of these ups and downs and ups and downs. There's opportunities to make money or lose a tremendous amount of money, so you need to be very careful. This is not investing. This is what you'd call speculating. There's a difference. Investing has a much longer time frame, and speculating on short-term moves is speculating and highly risky. So always make sure you have a plan. Decide how much you're willing to lose if it doesn't go the way you're hoping it will go, and have an exit strategy. And there's a saying, your first loss is your best loss. So there's a chance it might skip down and bounce right back up, or you might find yourself at this very first tip of an incredible way down, which you'll be very sad that you hang on to the whole way down. So always decide, I'm going to let it drop to here, I'm going to let it drop to here, or in this case, I'm willing to let it drop to here, and then I'm out. Because, or the other way you can play that is you do a small amount of purchases through here, and it's always a good idea to spread out, buy a little, 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 as something is sloping down. If you have a high conviction that it's going to come up, a lot of people call that catching a falling knife, and that can be very dangerous. This one is kind of at or near if you look at this chart through the different time frames, basically, how can I say it? You're drawing a line like this at a diagonal, and this point right here, this point right here, this point right here, this point right here, if you were to put this onto the 3-month or the 6-month, you will find that this point right in here is creating a beautiful line of support the stock has continued to bounce off of with a fair degree of accuracy. So what could go wrong? You could have some really bad news tomorrow out of China. An Evergrande update to the downside could wipe out this trade, and you'd have to dump out of it immediately, and then maybe buy in at a lower rate after the drop. But anyway, so we're going to see. I just want to get this out there because this is a time-sensitive one. We are currently right here at 49.55, and it would seem our hypothesis, and I really have no attachment to this one way or the other. This is just more of a curiosity to see. This is a very strong kind of a bell curve that is congregating around the $52 range. So we're going to see if the price over the next 2 days is going to bounce up at that 52. So thank you very much, everybody. I think we're going to end the stream there. I want to thank you very much, and we will try to put together some more videos later. Everybody have a good evening.